Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to today's fresh and tasty new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. And I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL. And as you can tell, we are missing one of our regular panel members. As a matter of fact, he is the cog that keeps this green machine running. And currently, he is on a mission from, I don't want to say God, but he's on a mission from the gaming gods to acquire a PlayStation 5. So he's going to be running a little bit late for his Xbox show appearance. I love it. I love how that works in there. He's late because he's getting a PlayStation 5. Only on this show can you have this much laughing at literally 30 seconds into the show. But listen, we have a great show for you today, folks. There is a lot of opinions. We might even potentially get an F-bomb or two by someone who you never thought would say it, but he just might do it live on the air. But let's get into the introductions. I know we're going to start with Mr. Badbit, who was up since 4 o'clock in the morning, who's feeling a little bit salty. Hopefully, he's going to be a half good bad bit and a half bad bit today. There he there he is, live on camera. Joe, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey. What a crazy
12 hours,
14
right?
hours.
Yeah.
We entered the Thunderdome of PlayStation 5 pre-orders. Every man, woman, child for themselves. Use them as weapons if you have to, Crazy times. But I'm excited to talk about Xbox. Actually, that's refreshing.
Yes, well, you know what it is. You at least you bring it 100, whether you're talking about PlayStation or you're talking about Xbox, and that's why this community loves you, and that's why I love you, and that's why you are a part of course, this show. Next up, all the way from the other side of the world, our very good friend who recently hit 1,000 subs on his outstanding and incredibly done YouTube channel. Please welcome Archimedes. What's going on, dude?
Thank you for having me, Boom. What a day. Today I'm really, really pissed. This is one of these days where you get to experience a really annoyed and pissed off Archimedes.
Well, we're going to get into why you are in a second, and I'm really happy that you're here, of course, because obviously you are a part of this show, and having you here each and every week to give us your opinions is honestly an honor. But let's continue with, of course, next up. Now, this gentleman over here started out with one podcast, and now he's currently up to 3. And there's a good reason for it, because he is well-versed in the industry. He is thought-provoking in his commentary, and he has become, in my opinion, an up-and-coming content creator to watch. Please welcome VJ. What's going on, dude?
Morning, Boom. Boom, it just seems like I've had a 10-minute recess from our last night's show. It doesn't seem like there's been a break.
Yeah. Well, listen, dude, you killed it last night, and I expect that you're going to do the same today. So I want to thank you for being here. And by the way, if you missed last night's show, it is probably I'm breaking records on views. I'm almost at 8,000 views in that show, and considering that I'm only at 5,000 subs, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So if you missed last night's PlayStation 5 show breakdown, it is up on video on demand, and of course it is on all of the RSS feeds that you can find. Double Barrel Gaming. But let's before we get into, of course, the bits and bytes section of the podcast, and then, of course, we're going to get into the main section, there's a couple of small things I want to do. And first and foremost, I want to bring up a very good friend of this community. You know this guy. You know him as the Graphic God. And I want to bring up Graphic God Productions because obviously Jay is still home. He is still designing, websites. He's still designing avatars and banners for people's YouTube channels. And, and he's doing all of this from the comfort of his home. And I want, obviously he is a sponsor for Double Gaming and specifically this particular podcast, and he has done all the work. So I kind of want to make sure that if you are someone that is starting out and you need artwork done for your YouTube channel, for your social media feed, or for anything that requires artwork that you can't do yourself, Graphic God Productions is the place that you need to go. You can reach out to Jay at graphic_God, or of course go directly to xboxgamerpicks.com and send him a message and let him know that Mr. Boomstick XL sent you, so he knows where you heard this. And obviously, as you can see by the top of it, he does gamer picks, banners, logos, intros, and t-shirts. So reach out to Jay if you're interested. And there's there's another artist that I don't have artwork for him yet. He's working on it for me, and I want to say that he's a new sponsor, but he's not new to this community. As a matter of fact, you know him as the Xbox Pope. That is right. Pope Art is a new sponsor for Double Barrel Gaming, and I'm going to be working with the Pope to get his information out there on his amazing controllers. And even though I don't have a logo, I do have the information. So if you know who the Pope is, and if you don't, shame on you, his artwork, as you can see, he's done artwork for multiple consoles, and you've seen some of the new ones that he's done. Well, he has a business that he is launching this Friday, September 18th, where you can get custom controllers that he's going to be selling, and some of them are absolutely outstanding. He has one, it's called the Coder, looks something out of Cyberpunk. It is my favorite design, but there is at least a dozen different designs, some of which that are Halo inspired and others. And I suggest you get over to, of course, his YouTube channel. Well, you can look at it on his YouTube channel. Look up the Xbox Pope, but get over to his Twitter account. And it's obviously just type in Xbox Pope and he's going to pop up, and all of the information will be available tomorrow morning, where you can sign up for the website. You can click on it and you can pre-order some of these unbelievably amazing controllers that he is designing. And one other little bit of news, I kind of want to bring up a group of guys, a group of mates, I'd like to call them. VJ, you might know what I'm talking about. It's these gentlemen right here, Green Pass Gaming. This is a new Xbox channel, and they've only been at it for about 8 weeks. VJ has recently become a part of that podcast, and I gotta say, I really do like the vibe. I do like how they're honest and they're fun, and of course we're going to get them on this show. We've already had one of the podcasters on this particular show, and we're going to get him back on here again. So if you are looking, if you want a fun Xbox positive show, I would say please check out Green Pass Gaming on YouTube. You can also type that in and follow them on Twitter. Let them know that Mr. Boomstick sent you, and check it out. Like I said, I'm all about helping others, and obviously, big or small, I'm going to try and help as many people as I can. It's just what I do. But let's get into the first bits and bytes. And you know what? I don't like doing this, folks. I don't like going after media personnel. It's just not my bag. But this kind of rubbed me the wrong way because of who he represents. And of course, I'm talking about Brian Altano. Now, I used to watch this guy when he was on IGN, which he still is on IGN, during the Nintendo Bitcast that they used to have. I used to be that guy that paid $30 a year to IGN to keep the lights on, right? And I was I used to enjoy the mainstream media until I learned the kind of people that they really are. And when I say people, I mean just a bunch of boobs. And Brian Altano happens to be one of these boobs. And the reason why I bring him up, not that he's deserving of my time, but I want to bring up an idiotic statement that he made yesterday. And I want to get the panel's opinion and get the chat's opinion on this. And it says this. The PS5 digital edition coming in at $100 under the Xbox Series X means they pretty much win the upcoming generation, honestly. Okay, well, I think that is not only stupid, but it's irresponsible considering that you work for IGN. And again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, not a problem. But it's funny how not only do I disagree with this, it's what Microsoft is currently doing is how Sony won the generation. It wasn't their first party games that won in the generation. It helped, sure, but it was the power and price and the strong arm marketing that they did. And right now, Microsoft has all three of those in spades. So to say this is idiotic, in my opinion. But I want to, Joe, I want to start with you because you obviously are the saltiest one of the bunch today. Listen, Brian is entitled to his opinion. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. It just that's my opinion on it. But I mean, is there any truth to what this guy is saying?
So I like Brian a lot. I like the opinions he brings to the table, whether I agree, disagree, whatever the case may be. Look, I'm on an Xbox podcast. I prefer the PlayStation ecosystem, right? So we could always agree to disagree. What he says by stating that, like, let me just try to find it one more time. That, yeah, the digital edition coming in at under 100 undercuts the Series X. I think what we're going to see this gen, first off, it's awesome to see where Xbox placed their consoles, right? Like the Xbox Series X for that price, $500 is a steal. And I think what I would have said in that tweet is the Xbox Digital Edition makes PlayStation more agile when it comes to the pricing of their consoles. I wouldn't say that the status quo remains the same that we've seen this generation, because there is a multitude of factors that, like, Xbox has the power narrative. They also have theoretically the options narrative of how to pay for these consoles and the entry fee as well.
Yeah.
What is going to be telling is how IP plays a role. And that's a
of course.
Really,
of course. At the end of the day, it's games.
Here.
We've always said that, Joe.
Yeah. So for me, I think it makes PlayStation a little bit more agile in terms of these marketing towards the Series X, but the Series X is there. And I like what Italian Clown said earlier today, where you trade in, I think it was the Xbox S or Xbox One X. You trade that in for an Xbox One S. It's a $99 console, right? So just trading that in, right? Even just going straight for the $24.99 a month route is still giving you so many options to work towards. So to me, I think what this generation is going to look like personally, and we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but it's going to be an Apple v Android. I don't care what your opinions on or either two, but my thing is probably PlayStation is going to have the hardware by their side, right? A lot of people carrying over their digital content onto the PlayStation 5. That's probably going to be their home and going to be their stranglehold. Where I think Xbox has the ability to theoretically sell more units is through Game Pass, which I've been nailing down as the bread and butter will be the future of the Xbox brand in terms of the options and the ability of playing Xbox games on your phone, on your tablet, on your Xbox, on your smart TV. Like, these are options that are going to be carrying over into the next 5 years, into the next 10 years. It's only going to grow. So where I think, hardware might still stay with Sony, we're going to see where their marketing and their whatever's going on in the past day. We got to see how their messing.
They're a little out of whack, to be honest with you. And to be fair, again, we're not going to get into. We're actually, folks, and I'll just do a little bit of an announcement. Tomorrow's Breakfast with Boom is going to be pure hellfire, and I say that because not only is Joe going to be there, not only is BitCloud going to be there, Dreadpool might show up a little bit late, because obviously he has some stuff going on. We are going to get Crispy Bomb, but King David is going to be joining us. And if you watch the show that the Iron Lords did yesterday for the reveal, he was on fire and he's still burning. And he's going to bring all that passion and excitement and fire to tomorrow's Jim Dancing Shoes Ryan podcast that we're going to have tomorrow. Because we have a lot to say. I don't want to spoil anything, but tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. If you think today is once we're done, it was fun, wait till tomorrow. But continue, Joe.
But yeah, in short, I think they're just going two different directions, and that's what I like to see.
We both said that. We both agreed that they're going down the same path, but one's moving left and one is moving right. And there's no wrong way to go at this point.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, like, could he be right? Sure. Only time will tell. I mean, PlayStation 5 on Target and Amazon was sold out in under a minute. So like, yeah, there's hype for this thing, but
sure there is.
I wouldn't listen when the grown-ups take control of the car on Tuesday, I believe, when the pre-orders go live on Xbox. That's when we're going to see a really good indicator of where this generation's going, because a lot of people are talking really positive about Xbox and where in Game Pass. So that's what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, I mean, great points as always. Archimedes, let's bring you into the conversation. Listen, again, I normally don't like topics like this. I don't write topics like this. That's why this is part of the Bits and Bytes. It is literally a small little snippet. I thought it was, again, in my opinion, and I'm entitled to mine, it was an idiotic statement. I think that he's wrong. I think that considering that he represents a brand as big as IGN, he has to use his words better, in my opinion. And listen, the truth is the truth. IGN is pro Sony, and listen, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But what are your thoughts on his statement regarding the basically conceding the entire generation because the less powerful PlayStation 5 comes in at under $100, but does not even bother to mention that there is a very capable and powerful system in its own right for the Series S, $100 under the PlayStation 5 digital.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. I totally agree with you. I think that people really talk about this media bias a lot on social media, and tweets like this really point out the problem of the industry right now. Sony is just held to a different standard than Microsoft. And people like Brian and people like his colleague McCaffrey, he also had such a very weird messaging on Twitter the other day. They just don't seem to act appropriately, considering for whom they work. They are not just the guy on Twitter who put out their thoughts. That's me. I have 2,000 followers on Twitter, and I do that in my free time. Talk about games, but even I show more professionalism than they do. And really, IGN is visited by hundreds of thousands of people every day. So if you put out something, it should be well considered what it is, and stupid stuff like that is just fueling up the stupid console war discussion, and is really one of the core problems we have right now in the media landscape, because IGN are not the only ones who are doing that. And he's not just an employee from IGN; he's an executive editor. So I expect more from guys like them, especially after what happened yesterday. And it's no secret that I said it in the beginning. I'm totally pissed right now, and that is because I probably won't have the PlayStation at launch for the very first time. I've had every PlayStation ever released on day one, except the first one. That one released a little late here in Germany, but every other console I had at launch, and for the first time I won't be able to do that. And people are just not holding Sony to the same standards. Consider this: if Microsoft would have done the same, what would be the tweets?
Oh, dude, it would be a bloodbath.
Exactly, and these biased, media guys like Brian, they are just the problem. The Sony fans, and I am a Sony fan too. That's why I'm so annoyed and pissed off right now, because I was really excited for the PlayStation. Yeah, even though we are here on an Xbox podcast, I have had over 40 different consoles in my life.
Here's the thing: when people say that, It's because we are gamers. Listen, I understand that it's okay to have a preference. I understand it's okay to like one brand more than another. That's like baseball. I have no love for the Mets whatsoever, but I like the Yankees. Does that make me a terrible New Yorker? No, it doesn't. So again, they do their thing. That's fine. I don't dump on them every chance I get. So when we say on an Xbox podcast, I'm happy and thrilled to not only have gotten my PlayStation 5. For me, my wife was able to secure the digital one that we're giving away. And that was even more important because we're giving it away to a fan. And we want to make sure that we have that PlayStation 5. I've already paid for Miles Morales, the digital version. And whoever wins it is getting the console and Miles Morales. And it's our way of giving back. But Mrs. Boom stepped up big yesterday. But if you are, why? Because we are gamers. We want the best. We want the newest. And we want to enjoy the industry from all perspectives.
Exactly. That's what I've been doing for years. And somehow Sony managed to steal this excitement away from me. Yeah, I was so looking forward to pre-order my console. I already booked a day off at work for when the console comes out. I wanted to celebrate that. I do the same with the Xbox. I do the same with every Nintendo console. It's something special, and they robbed that. In addition to that, they had so many screw ups yesterday with the lies basically about console exclusives. Then they raised the price for games, and nobody is angry about Sony. No,
yeah, the $70 thing was a bit of a sneaky. It was a little sneaky, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't even tell people about that until you. And I actually didn't. You know, it's funny you say that, Boxer Bear, because I was, when I was looking for the PlayStation 5 before I was able to get one, I didn't know I was going to be able to get the second digital one. So I was looking to make sure I can have it pre-ordered. And every place I went, when you typed in PlayStation 5, the games came up. But what I started noticing is 70. And it didn't correlate with me until someone mentioned it on Twitter that the games went up. I said, holy crap, they're right. The games went up to $70.
Yeah.
Fun fact
80
about
euros
that.
here in Germany. It's insane. Yeah, we were already at the 70 price. We already always paid $10 more than you guys in the US. We are now at 80.
Yeah,
and now Brian Altano and other editors from IGN come out and somehow declare Sony already the winner of the next generation. I mean, I have no doubt that they will sell more consoles worldwide, and it's just because they are a way more well-known brand outside of their core markets, US and UK. But for a major media site declaring them the winner of the next gen after this major fuck up from Sony yesterday, this is just ridiculous. And it shows, it is a perfect example for what is wrong with the media landscape right now.
Yeah. Fun fact about that, by the way, from the information I've gathered, when it comes to like that $70 price tag, that has been something that several developers, publishers have been wanting since this generation.
Yes.
And from what I'm aware of, Microsoft was hesitant to do. So a lot of them looked towards Sony going, okay, man, let's do this. So 2K, Activision, they were the canary in the coal mine. Yeah. For PlayStation to go, okay, this is now the new normal. That said, Xbox probably going to follow suit within the next year. But what this does value, and I think it goes back to that tweet, values Game Pass.
Yes.
Game Pass more important than ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, Xbox last week, they even made the value proposition of Game Pass even better with the EA Access Edition. Now, and 1 week after that, in these economic uncertain times, you come out and announce a price increase, screw up the pre-orders, tell everyone about the SSD apparently is not so important because we can now do gameplay design without the SSD, yeah, and stuff like that. It's just such a weird thing to do, and I've seen so many fans today on Twitter sugarcoating this whole thing. I don't get that either, because this reminds me of a Brian Altano or a Ryan McCaffrey. If Sony screws up big time, and this time they did. They absolutely did. Why can't people just say that? It is really. I do not get why the fans of the Sony fans cannot demand better from Sony. Microsoft fans do it. The Xbox fans do it all the time. We have said it many times on these shows when Microsoft screwed up just a few weeks ago when we talked about the marketing issues Microsoft is having. We speak up and demand better from Microsoft. Why can't people do the same from Sony? I do not get that.
No, it's a great question. Hey, listen, Joe, any chance you can see the first 2 super chats that came in?
Oh, not right now because my monitor is in a very weird place, but I'll try.
Yeah, if you could find them, that would be great because I was just about to read them, and of course, Zemi Games is here. Excellent, Zemi Games, welcome to the show, my brother. How you feeling?
What's up? I'm not feeling too good, Boom. I'm not feeling too good, man.
So basically,
so you didn't get one either.
I'm very sad. No, I mean, you want to hear a story? So I go there. There was like 5 people standing in line, and as soon as we walk in there, the first guy's like, "Hey, do you guys have any PlayStation 5s that I can pre-order?" And the guy's like, "No, we don't. You can sign your name on this list, and we'll call you or whatever." And he was explaining that, like pre-orders went live at like 6 p.m. like corporate, sent everyone an email saying to sell them at 6 p.m. Well, of course, PlayStation said today was when you could go pre-order them. So, but then like the guy was also like, he even made it even worse for me because he was like, he the young guy that was working in there specifically said that his manager told him, even though they don't have PlayStations, to still pre-order other PlayStation stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like peripherals are you talking about?
Yeah, like games and stuff like that. Even though they don't have any consoles, just still pre-order, that type of stuff. Still push that.
That's corporate speak for you. Just not even store managers knew. Not even store managers knew.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
I was at 3 retailers today, trying to see if I can pre-order a console locally, and all 3 retailers told me the exact same thing. No, we don't have the console, but you can pre-order the headphones.
Yeah, no thanks. Okay, so you know what? Let me just read some of the super chats, and Zemi, if you get a chance, because I know Joe was looking, I missed the first 2, and because I was just about to read them
in our private chat.
Yeah, if you throw them in there. Oh, you put them in there?
Yeah, then I put it in the private chat.
Oh, excellent, dude. Thank you so much.
Archimedes, not point, not me.
Okay, we have Bounty Boom, good friend and generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat. And all I have to say is, boom, Sony dropped the bomb and Sony fanboys are fighting. Yeah, they did. And right now it's very toxic, and a lot of people are eating a lot of words right now, but we're not going to get into that because, we try to stay away from steer around those potholes. Excuse me. A good friend of the show, Sin Vendetta, who is smiling from ear to ear. Hopefully he has been able to acquire a PS5 so he can play Demon Souls, which is a launch game. And that's big. That's a big get for Sony. And I know he's going to be very excited about that. So let me just read his super chat. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Mr. Badbit, really quick, how about that Demon Souls remake gameplay? I mean, listen, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's not good. Bloodborne 2, but you'll take it.
No, I'll take it. You could literally see my reacts on PS Trophy Room on Twitter.
I
just
like a
wait. Snippet.
Yes.
So
I cannot wait. We have J1405, a very good friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5.49 super chat and says, "I'm glad I scored a PlayStation 5 today. Yes, good for you, Jay. But sad for my friend Archimedes who missed out. Shame on you, PlayStation." Yeah, I absolutely agree. Rectangle. Hey, Rectangle became a channel member. Hey, dude, thanks so much for that. That is pretty awesome. We have Hassan Abuzyard drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, "Good morning, panel. Crazy day yesterday. Did anyone lock down their console?" Yes, I definitely locked down the console. And like I said earlier, Mrs. Boomstick locked down the digital that we are giving away. And that, to me, and I'm being super honest here, was even more important than me locking down my console, because we obviously promised that we are going to give these consoles away. And it would be kind of shitty if we didn't have the consoles to give away. I mean, I'll just send people the money, but I'd rather send them the console with Miles Morales, which, of course, we're going to do. And we're going to be doing that drawing at the end of October, early November, to get those winners. And hopefully it's, someone that's cool, someone that that's been supporting the channel wins. You always like to see the good guys win, in my opinion. Viper XT, very generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $10 super chat, says, there is a claim out there saying that PlayStation 5 Digital won't have backwards compatibility. It says PlayStation fans will only be able to play games from the PS4 console onward of the standard. Wow, you know what? I did not
clarify.
Joe. Okay.
Yeah, clarified. They worded it poorly. Like, if you have a disc, it's not going to work on the digital. That's what they're saying.
That I think that makes sense.
Also, this just breaking in that it's not backwards compatible with PS3, PS2, or PS1.
Right? Yeah, we kind of knew that already, though. Yeah. Viper XT actually dropped a $5 super chat prior. Don't want to miss that. He says just waited 2.5 hours. 10th in line at EB Games to find out they only had 9 in store pre.
What?
God, dude, I'm sorry,
that
bro.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, I mean that kind of a horror story is unfortunately becoming a trend, and I feel bad for the people that don't get it because
that's awful.
Yeah, so you wait 2.5 hours to be told, oh, fill out a list or buy headphones. I'd punch somebody in the face. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm not violent. Not at all. But you know what, Zemi, we're going to come to you at the end. I want to bring VJ. We're still at the Bits and Bytes section. Brian Altano, once again, sticks his foot in his mouth. And it's typical. It's typical IGN arrogance. It's typical IGN irresponsibility. And they just don't give an F. And it's sad. Basically, VJ, coming from your position, I'm interested to know, do you feel that there is a sense of no responsibility for representation of the brand of IGN with some of these editors and executive editors?
To be quite honest with you, Boom, before I say what I'm going to say, is that I don't follow these guys anymore. When I first started and when I came to you and asked to be on your podcast, you knew I wasn't even on Twitter, right, or social media.
Right.
So when I started to follow all of these guys, I realized, like, these guys are terrible at what they do. And you heard me last night as well, right, in terms of Forbes and CNN. So I've got even less respect for IGN and all these other outlets. But I just want to make a comment in terms of, and it may be controversial, but I think
go crazy. Listen, let your hair down.
you have to look at, okay, these guys have a certain sort of inbuilt subconsciousness, right, that is leading them towards saying these kind of things, right? So I didn't even know this was a topic, but if you take Bill Gates, right, his principles and style of working was to, and I'm talking back from the 90s, right, was to sort of acquire, dominate, and control any area of any industry he could, whilst maximizing the revenues and profits for shareholders primarily, right? It was never truly about creating something. These very seeds, roots, and philosophies are still, for many, the foundation of Microsoft today, no matter how they dress it up. During the 1990s, Windows frustrated like many, many people. I remember it used to frustrate me, and it was like forced expensive upgrades. Otherwise, certain games and software would not work. And Microsoft would take so long to fix bugs and crashes. So my perspective of Microsoft back then, or even up until a few years ago, was that Microsoft products were a requirement, but not friendly or loved. Their brand dominance was acknowledged, but never respected or celebrated. Microsoft built a dominating and controlling brand, but it wasn't really a creative one. They took advantage and were not really consumer friendly at that time, and even up into 2013, just brought that all back. And what it did is bring back all the negative goodwill, all the disloyalty, and that was imbued back into the Microsoft and Xbox brand. So, but if you look at it in stark contrast to how Steve Jobs and Apple and currently Sony are perceived, you can understand where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. So that's the perception that Phil is charged with changing, and he's able to do so. And we know he's taking steps, but it's not something like a beer or a whiskey, right, that just matures just suddenly. It's going to take time. And I've said this so many times, Boom, on your show, if he surrounds himself with some more key people and I can't think of anyone better than your good self.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. What are your thoughts on the asinine comment, though? Do you think that he's out of place?
Boom. At the end of the day, right, things are happening yesterday. Everyone was quite emotional and so on and so forth. And as I said to you, I don't follow him. I don't even know what he said. And if he's saying, hey, look, we're pro Sony and Sony are going to win, well, that's his opinion. But let's be honest, we're only at the beginning. This is not about a game that's coming out that's got to do numbers within the first 3 or 4 days in order to be a success. These hardware, you've got 7 to 10 years to go. This is a really long marathon, right? So people all sorts of nonsense between now and then. We're going to build shows around it for the next 10 years, right? So for me, it's like I can't even mentally get myself into a headspace to actually give it any mind share. I'm just being totally honest with you, Boom.
No. Listen, it's perfectly fine. I mean, once again, very, very, very distinct answering for the question. I definitely appreciate it. Zemi Games, I know that you just got here, and of course you are disappointed. And we're going to try and cheer you up, even though I don't have a PS5 in my back pocket to give you. Brian Altano yesterday on Twitter made a comment, and again, you know how I feel about talking about these journalists. I don't like to give them any spotlight because they don't give me any spotlight, and that's fine. I don't want anything from IGN, but I just thought it was worthy of a minuscule conversation because I think he's a boob. And he says this: the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition coming in at $100 under the Xbox Series X means they pretty much win this upcoming generation. Honestly, I thought it was half cocked. I think it's an ignorant statement considering that the Series X is the more powerful console by leaps and bounds for only $100 more, but then they seem to have forgotten that there's a Series S console that's just as capable, that has ray tracing, that has the velocity architecture, that has the SSD technology, and all of these bells and whistles for $100 less than the PlayStation 5 digital. What are your thoughts on his comments?
I mean, it's definitely his opinion. It's an opinion I completely and utterly kind of disagree with. I mean, I think, kind of as VJ alluded to, unfortunately I was unable to hear, Bad Bit and Archimedes' opinion on this, but as VJ just alluded to, I mean, it is his opinion, right? And, and regardless of if I agree with it or if I disagree with it, really kind of holds, I guess, really no standing. It's his Twitter page. He has full right to, put whatever on there that he wants, regardless of how, misleading or how accurate it might be. Right. I think that there is a very distinct difference in, the IGNs and GameSpots and spots and, Game Rants and Kotaku's, posting this type of content and their journalists posting this kind of content just on their Twitter page. I think that there is a very, very distinct difference. And of course, he probably honestly has a bias, whether it's, unconscious bias or a conscious bias. I couldn't tell you. And then also, he probably has.
Sammy, may I interrupt here and ask you one thing? Don't you? Yes, it is his opinion, but don't you think that if you have a certain status, you have to put out a bit more professional opinion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming with that, right? But and for my personal life, like I don't want to necessarily post super like PlayStation or Xbox content like one way or another. Like I try to keep my personal brand right in the middle, right? That's what I like to do. But I'm everyone's not like that, right? And like I'm not going to condemn him for for an unwritten standard that we might have, right? But and then again, of course, from a business standpoint, it kind of makes sense for him to carry this opinion, right? This is what's going to get him more clicks, more follows on his social media. This is what's going to grow his audience so that they go to, the website that he writes for or the channel that he speaks on and get him more views and just raise up his profile, right? So from a business standpoint, PlayStation is still the market share leader. They still have the most interest, currently in the market, at least from what we can gauge, right? And so from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense.
Also, he understand where he is as a creator. He does co-host a PlayStation podcast and a Nintendo podcast. So understand where his niches are. Yeah, he has an audience. Of course, he's gonna have a bias leaning one way or the other. Also, bear in mind, just like if you see journalists on Twitter or whatever, they often say in their bios, my thoughts, not my company's. So this could be their personal thoughts, not so much the company's.
Yeah.
And just to add something else in there, this guy is PlayStation, and I'm saying this about him. If there was someone on the Xbox side of things saying, "Oh, after looking at PlayStation Showcase yesterday, Xbox has just won this, this generation," I would be saying the same exact thing. That is his opinion. That's not a fact, and it's just his opinion, right? And the reason why he's probably saying that is for business reasons, right? His primary fan group is probably Xbox consumers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, again, he's entitled to it. I thought it was an idiotic statement. I thought it was an uneducated statement based on what has been presented to us as consumers. But again, his statement, fine. Let me move on to the second Bytes and Bits section. And this is where the saltiness is going to come out of everyone. And I apologize, but I think it's made for good podcasting. Now, listen, if there is one very strong point in the messaging and marketing department for Team Xbox, it has been that team that has been running their social media account for Twitter. And they posted something last night that was a clear slap to the face of Sony. As a matter of fact, it was so devious. It was so thought-provokingly childish. It was brilliant. And this comes off the heels of one of the most orchestrated, worst pre-order plans in the history of modern age gaming. And that, of course, is the PlayStation 5 pre-orders. That was basically the Wild West. When Mr. Badbit says he's exhausted, it isn't just physically. Everyone, I think, here on the panel, potentially the near 500 people already here in the chat, are mentally exhausted from the gymnastics that we all had to do to get our PlayStation 5s. And that's Sony's fault. I don't care what anyone says. But this is what the Xbox Twitter account's response was to the madness that was the PlayStation 5 pre-order. And it goes like this in bullet points. Pre-order on September 22nd. Worldwide launch in 36 countries on November 10th. Hype 9,000 plus. And at the bottom, this is where the kick to the balls comes. Don't worry, we'll let you know the exact time pre-orders start for you soon. End quote. Okay, so Joe, I want to go to you first. Now, obviously, social media plays a tremendous role in marketing. And social media, as we know, for Sony has been their strong 24-inch Hulk Hogan Python arm that they have had a stranglehold on. It seems that they have slipped up a bit, and it's this kind of behavior that we saw from Sony more often than not, right, during their winning generation, which is still the current generation. And now we're starting to see Microsoft, whoever is in charge of their social media feeds, is going to town recently. And this is another prime example of
I think it's Stein's been the guy behind the meme.
Is it Stein that's been orchestrating this madness? Because I agree with it.
Wow. Yeah. So many thoughts. First off, man, slip up. That's being generous. Boom. This is an all-out fuck up by Sony. And let's be real talk before I say anything off kilter to some people and the 500 people come after me. PlayStation dropped the ball big last night. I mean, they've straight up lied to you twice.
Yes.
And they tried to hide it, whether that's the cross-generational stuff, whether that's, hey, listen, you wouldn't have to fight a grandma for your PlayStation 5 pre-order. They gave no such time. And whether you want to blame GameStop or not, like I mostly do, it's on the responsibility of PlayStation to set a date, to set a time. That's
you
what
actually,
Microsoft's
why don't
done.
you tell the folks what you would have done? Because you talked about this in the pre-show, and I thought it was brilliant.
So here's what Daddy would have done. Daddy would have set a date. Daddy would have set a time. That's it.
Simple
like I would have
as
said, simple as that. Say, hey, Friday, gang, and be like, Friday at this time. Here's what our plans are, and then elaborate as much as you can, and then give it. Hand it over to the retailers to say, here's the retailers that are taking responsibilities. Remember that there's a pandemic, wear a mask, and like social distance measures that you need, for each individual region. Cool. That would have been a better way to do it than rather to go, we're allowed to soon tomorrow?
Yeah.
Question mark. And then it gives GameStop and Walmart, tip the hat to you douchebags, to literally go, not even give their store managers time. Go, no, do it now. Because they want to be the first, because they need people in the door, because they are going out of business. Primarily GameStop. Walmart's fine. But like that's the issue at hand. Microsoft, this is a bold move. Because Tuesday could happen. They could be prepared for it. It's kind of what Ainsley said on Twitter. They could be try their best to be prepared for it. This could happen to them too. Right? Like there could be some type of fiasco at hand. So this is a very quick roll of the dice. At the same exact time, Xbox. We can't be always buddy go, there's no competition. It's just us. We're just doing our own thing. And then like come out with slide comments like these. I'm not a fan of that. Just me as a consumer. Like when you're telling me one thing and then you're like kind of doing the underhanded, slap in the face type of thing. I'm not a fan of that. It's just not in my personality. It's not what I like to do. So yeah, it's to me very ballsy of Microsoft, which hopefully means that they have this shit on lock. They are so confident that they got this on lock. Because if they don't, we're gonna come here on Wednesday going, dude, I have to fight 3 grandmas for a Series X. What happened? But yeah, this is a very ballsy response by Microsoft, taking advantage of the poor wording from Sony. Let's see what happens in the next coming weeks. The next coming weeks are telling. Like this is round 1 of the Thunderdome with PlayStation. You could expect 3 or 4 rounds of pre-orders to go live. So like, hopefully they learn from this bout, but also this is going to be the first wave for Microsoft and how they deal with that and how they show off the Series X gameplay. Because it's fun to give a great tweet. But guys, I could count maybe 2 games maybe we've seen Series X gameplay from. So like, pull the shit on, PlayStation, because they messed up. But I also need to see some stuff from you too, and I hope
we're hearing
to see that.
We're hearing through our good friends at the r/Xbox Reddit, and if you're not a fan of them, shame on you. Follow them on Twitter. I have their link in the show notes. They have become good friends of mine, and they run a real tight ship. They were first to the scene yesterday with many tweets regarding what was going on in Xbox.
Dude, the crossplay one that they did was chef's kiss. But I would assume that we're going to see something by Tuesday from them. Like, here's what the big old console.
Now we saw 13
I'm
games running on the S already through that Jason Ronald video, which was brilliant. I believe, from what I understand, that's coming for the Series X. I just can't give you the specific dates. I don't have the dates. If I did, I'd give them. But you know what, Zemi, let me get to you on this. But before I do, let me just catch up on some of these super chats because there's been quite a few that's come in. Sikio Yumi, a good friend of the show, drops an outstanding $2 super chat that just left the front of my eyes. Hold on just a second there, Sikio. And they say King bought King. That wouldn't be surprising. King bought all of the PlayStation 5s, so I bought 4 Quest 2s. That Quest 2 looks good. That's a part of the bits and bytes for tomorrow's opening show. I have a Quest. I was just playing Beat Saber, which, by the way, is, my God, so much fun. And I don't have the money for the 2 because I don't really need it. I have the Quest, and it's great. But man, that Splinter Cell, oh snap, I can't wait. Now here we go. Our very good and very happy friend Sin Vendetta drops an outstanding $5 object. Said, Zemi, I know you're just as excited as I am, but we finally are getting a real AAA Harry Potter game. I'm beyond excited. Yes, you Potterheads are probably falling over yourself, and I cannot wait to be there. We have Phase 23 BKNY. He's a generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 object. Said, you didn't like what Brian Altano says, which is his opinion. But when Mr. Boomstick says Xbox is going to win the gen, it's your opinion. It's okay. Well, here's the thing, brother. I am just a podcaster. I don't have millions of followers, and I don't represent the brand. I represent my brand. And if you recall, I said it was my opinion. As a matter of fact, I said it like 3 or 4 times in that whole monologue. So I'm clearly giving you my opinion. And again, if you agree, awesome. If you don't, that's fine. I don't represent IGN, but if I did, if I was wearing a website's, badge, if you will, I would be more thought-provoking and thoughtful with my commentary. I wouldn't be as one way as they are, and they're biased. I'm not biased. I buy everything. And do I admittedly say that Xbox is my brand, my go-to brand? At least I'm honest. Those people at IGN are all full of shit. And if you think otherwise, well, man, listen, dude, that again, your opinion, but I would tend to disagree with you tremendously because IGN is full of shit. And that's why I don't support them. And I normally don't even talk about this stuff, but I thought it was an idiotic statement. And again, you're entitled to your opinion if you don't agree with mine. Dude, that's perfectly fine. I mean, listen, I'm not going to get mad at you, but I definitely appreciate the super chat, and I certainly appreciate you being here. We have Greg Clark dropping an outstanding $10 super chat. Greg, thanks so much for hanging up, but more importantly, thank you for your generosity. He says this: $69.99 for first-party games, PS4/PS5 cross-gen, $100 price gap between PlayStation consoles. This is all in reaction to Microsoft's console pricing, in my opinion. Sony was completely caught off guard. Tragic. Yeah, you know who's the boob here? You know who's the real boob out of this whole situation? I'm the boob. You know why? Because I'm an old dog. And old dogs normally don't really do new tricks. So the whole going digital only is just not my bag. So what did Boom did? Well, Boom obviously has the digital for the giveaway, and that's fine because I promised that. But I spent the extra $100 for the disc version because I have a lot of PlayStation 4 and more specifically PlayStation VR discs. So I don't buy everything right away. I wait for GameStop's buy 2 get 1 free, and that's what I did during the beginning of the pandemic when I had all these sales. I went crazy, and so I need the disc, and I don't want to be painted into a corner. So I'm the boob. I spent the extra $100. But yeah, Sony is really, listen, the SoC situation, they knew about this 6 months ago, folks. It's being reported now by Bloomberg, and of course, Sony denied it. They're full of shit too. They knew about it, and the reason why the PlayStation 5s are not $549 and $499, which they originally were. See, Jim Ryan did a sit down with the Washington Post where he said that, oh no, the pricing is this $399, $499, always lies. We're gonna get into Jim. We're gonna get into Jim Ryan's lies tomorrow. In fact, it's gonna be the lead topic for, this guy basically stone cold face lying to his audience, which of course is me and anyone that buys a PlayStation. But To be honest,
I'm ready.
Joe's ready to fight. Yeah,
I'm gonna box him.
I can give you, you know, I've worked in the semiconductor industry. In fact, I was one of the lead engineers for one of the key components of the EUV systems that they are using now to manufacturing the SoC. So I can give you a little inside scoop.
Sure.
About 6 months ago, the whole series production was for sure ready and being kicked off. That happened about 6 months ago. So technically, the wording that Sony used to deny that Bloomberg report is correct, because they phrased it like, well, we didn't reduce the number of ordered series chips or something like that. So in fact, that's true, because they knew about the low yield before they ordered their series production. So, but that doesn't mean that they won't achieve their original goals. Yeah, and seeing that pricing now and seeing everything that is going on is definitely something that is pointing towards that Bloomberg report being right. Huh?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that real quick. Oh, we have a super chat coming in from the co-founder of the Xbox Factor podcast. That's right. The Welsh gamer who the entire community, including myself, cannot wait to make his triumphant return, drops an outstanding. I got to find it. Hold on a sec. Let's see. He drops an outstanding $10 super chat. We missed you here, buddy. We cannot wait for you to come back once the world kind of gets back to normal. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we need you back on this show, Mr. Welsh Gamer. He says big ups to both Sony and Microsoft, but I gotta say, Phil and crew painted Sony into a corner with the prices. You can tell Sony were screaming into a pillow behind closed doors. That's very, very true. We also have another super chat that came in from, hold on a second. Wakanda Xbox News Today drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says devil's advocate time. If the Xbox pre-orders last more than 5 minutes, the narrative would be no one is pre-ordering, and that's why they still stock, and that's why there is still stock. I mean, yeah, I guess they're gonna.
Real talk though, like if it doesn't sell out, sure, but like if that thing doesn't sell out in a day, yeah, like that's a problem. Narrative wise, like even me, like the most down the middle type of dude would go, oh, okay, that's sounding an alarm bell. But I don't know, 5 minutes, I'll give him 5 minutes. Give me time to goddamn swipe my credit card, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Face 23BKNY. Obviously, I must have struck a nerve. Drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: did you feel the same way when Phil Spencer lied about VR? Did you call him out? Well, I mean, again, dude, I really think that you're kind of just throwing it up against the barn door and hoping something sticks. What do you want me to say? You want me to say that he lied and that the torches and pitchforks are coming out for Phil Spencer because we didn't get VR? Well, he came out and did an interview and said the reason why they changed their mind on it. Changing your mind and straight up lying to the consumer is what Jim Ryan did about Spider-Man being the only available on PlayStation 5. You know, Horizon Forbidden West only on PlayStation 5. We can only do it because of the SSD. And now we're hearing that that's going to potentially, both of those games, God of War 2, possibly, Demon Souls. I think so, because they took down the thing that said on the bottom, other consoles at a later date, and that was taken down by Sony. That was their marketing, folks. I didn't do it. So is Ratchet and Clank coming? I don't know, because I don't believe Sony. And if you do, okay. I mean, listen, I'm not going to argue with you, brother. I appreciate the support, but I don't know where the fight is.
If I could just 15-second reply.
Come on in.
All companies lie. Don't trust them. Don't. Like take whatever CEO ever says ever, and just until you see that proof, then you just don't believe it. Phil Spencer though has come through on several things. Yes, has he not done on VR? Sure, But yeah, no, yesterday it wasn't like they were telling a fib. They were straight up being deceitful.
Yes.
And this is coming from a PlayStation guy,
Yeah.
right? They were being straight up deceitful with their audience. So, you can't carry this narrative of like generations matter. And then all of a sudden overnight, they don't.
Right. No, I 100% I agree. Bounty Boom drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I hate to say it, Boom, but something is wrong with Sony. Is up to some. They're up to something. You don't advertise an equipment, the equipment, and just put pre-orders in the same day. There's a lot of questions about what Sony showed, what they didn't show. That I'm hoping that we get some more clarification. Bounty Boom drops another outstanding $5 super chat and says, I'm talking about the price. Remember, Red Ring of Death, Microsoft didn't tell us, and everyone was pissed. I think Sony's doing the same thing. I mean, oh god damn it! My PlayStation 5 better not die, because it happened to me with the PlayStation 4. The cord melted out of the back, and I am going to be pissed if I have to wait 2.5 weeks like I did for the PlayStation 4 to get another PlayStation 5. I am going to be effing livid. I have the insurance because I always buy the insurance on this stuff, but I am going to be mad as hell. Yosemite Blam drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, Sony Santa Monica confirms God of War Ragnarok is coming to the PlayStation 4 as well as PS5. Well, thank you for the clarifications. That does it all. And you know something? I applaud Sony for this. I think that if you are one of the 110 million, that's quite a few of us in the chat here, nearly 450 people that have PlayStation 4s, you don't have to upgrade. You don't have to buy a PlayStation 5 right now if you don't want to. And I think that that's important. I think that is important, and I think that Sony knew that, and they lied about it, and we're going to get into that into depth tomorrow. I cannot wait to hear Joe, because Joe's raring to go, and he's a PlayStation guy. But King David has already told me what to expect, and it's going to be outrageous behavior, and I cannot wait. Thanaros, a very good and generous friend of the show, does an outstanding $5 super chat, and he says this: to be fair, the execs have to change statements. No business can remain stagnant. I mean, I agree. I agree there as well. Semi, I'm going to go to you next, brother. Did I go to you already or no?
No, you haven't.
I did. Okay, so here, the Bytes and Bits is this. What are your thoughts on the cheekiness, if you will, of this statement from the marketing team on Twitter for Xbox?
I think it's just a good, nice comment. In a way, it's you can kind of see it as them throwing a little bit of shade towards Sony, but then also the way I like to view it is just as a fan, this is reassurance that Xbox is gonna provide an equal playing field, right? And Bad Bit, he mentioned how this is kind of risky for Microsoft's putting out this statement. Maybe he was talking about a different statement, but like whenever I look at this statement, it's literally all they got to do is two simple things, right? Give us the specific, well, really just one. Give us the specific time that pre-orders are going to go launch, and make sure that retailers, stay, accountable for that, right? Like that's all they have to do, and none of this tweet is like really risky in my mind, right? But for me, the struggles of getting a PlayStation 5 are very, very real. Like, of course, you can say that PlayStation lied about a lot of things. For instance, games that weren't going to be available for PS4 are now available for PS4. But, at least you can make the argument on that side of, well, at least them, changing, their direction on that is actually pro-consumer. But them lying about when to expect pre-orders to go live for PlayStation 5, I mean, that's not good for anyone. Maybe that might be good for PlayStation, because, they're going to sell out even quicker, and it's going to build up more hype and all of that. But, what PlayStation did to consumers really, really, really was kind of just dirty business, in my opinion. And so for Xbox to put out this comment is just really reassuring to, for me that, I'm going to have, if nothing else, an equal, chance and opportunity to actually get one of these consoles. Right. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was saying on yesterday's podcast after the PlayStation show, you know, I'm not upset that I wasn't able to pre-order a PlayStation 5. I'm upset that I had no chance of pre-ordering a PlayStation 5. And the reason I had no chance was because of, you know, PlayStation's, you know, inability to give us a specific time that these are going to go live. And so for Xbox to reassure me in the sense of just tweeting out, hey, we're definitely going to give you a specific time that you can go and pre-order these consoles, I find very reassuring. Of course, yeah, you can kind of say, well, you know, it's Xbox maybe throwing a little bit of shade towards PlayStation. Ultimately, I just think it's an excellent tweet. It's really good marketing and very, very, very little risk if they can just give us a time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they said the time is coming, which is interesting.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to also touch on something else
I like
real
the fact
quick,
they,
if you don't care.
In that
tweet, they also mentioned that the console is going to release on November, 10th, which we knew, in 36 different countries.
Oh no, that's the next.
Is that the next topic? Okay.
Next topic, brother. We're going to go into it, and again, I'm going to reiterate. IMO, in my opinion, just for you, if you don't know what that means. Why I think Microsoft has already won the next generation, or at least has positioned themselves to win it. We're going to get into that because we're going to be comparing apples to apples and whose is shinier. Right now, I think it's Microsoft, but we're going to get into that in a second. Real quick, a couple of super chats have come in. Yosemite Blam is here. He drops another $5 super chat and he says this. No, I was suckered. Wrong info. I'm eating lunch and can't read. God of War Ragnarok not coming to PlayStation 4. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe anything Sony is saying, especially if, listen, if Horizon Forbidden West is coming to the PlayStation 4, and that is going to be a bigger game, there's no rhyme or reason why God of War 2 is not going to be coming, which, by the way, the 2021 thing is also a lie. That's not coming out until 2022 at least. And I say that because Horizon is coming out first. And I don't think you're going to get Horizon in the same year you're going to get a God of War. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. Whatever. Game Genie Prime, a very generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $5 super chat, said they sold those PS5s at like a backdoor fence in an alley. Take this and go out the back window. Remember, you don't know my name. That's what it seems like. Elemental Pio, my goodness, dude, welcome back. I haven't seen you in here. At least I haven't seen you in the chat in a while. Hopefully, Elemental Pio, you are well. Thank you so much for the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, if your mission is to move your huge console base onto the next generation, oh, for the love of Jehovah, onto the next generation as fast as possible, did Sony hurt those chances at launch? Oh, dude, I absolutely believe that they did. And Elemental Pio, FYI, I just made you a moderator for this program because obviously I trust you indubitably. Nelson Nieves drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I am so pissed at the media, not Sony, the media. F double standards, same problem that we have in politics. Yeah, politics just suck. That's why we don't talk about it on this show. Okay, so I want to go to Boxer Bear on this. Obviously, you are someone that is a content creator like most of us on this panel. And, you obviously keep your ear to the marketing aspect of both companies because you are a diehard gamer. Was this a genius tweet that Microsoft put out there?
Yeah. I don't know if I would call it genius, but I would call it a very forthcoming tweet because, see, remember this video from PlayStation about 7 years ago on how to trade
how to trade games and 1080p makes you a better gamer. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of a reaction to this because it shows really what Xbox has been doing ever since they announced the Series X. They have been very clear and transparent in their messaging. They screwed up as well. We talked about that. especially when it comes to games marketing. Yeah. But their messaging surrounding the hardware and surrounding their services has been very clear and very transparent, and this is just undermining their whole behavior ever since they announced it at the VGAs last year. So it's exactly what they need to do. They need to show that it is not difficult. It is easy to do things like that if you are transparent. Say like it is. Pre-order start here in Germany. The official German Xbox account announced it's 9 a.m. on Tuesday. So 9 a.m. Tuesday, I know I can hit the pre-order button. Yeah. Very open, very transparent, and that's not difficult. Yeah, it's not difficult with a lot of things. We have seen these kind of tweets a couple of times now from Microsoft. I remember a tweet about backcompat. That's how easy backcompat is on Xbox. Yeah, clear and simple messaging, and I really like that. It's also it shows that there is still a little competition left, even though Microsoft has said multiple times now that they don't see Sony as their main competitor. I think it still is. Even though, of course, Google and Amazon are other new players entering the field, but Sony is still the main competitor, and seeing them reacting to what Sony does is something I think is very good, as long as it is not toxic, and that's not toxic in this case. So I'm all good with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, non-toxic. I mean, cheeky, sure, but informative, absolutely. Obviously they are pivoting, seeing the mistake. Again, folks, not to be like a D-bag in the room here, but let's just look back at the mistakes that Microsoft made early on in the consoles, this generation's marketing. It was tremendously poor. And what did Sony do? Sony capitalized on every mistake. You know why? Because they were forward thinking. They were devious. They wanted to win the generation because they just came off of just edging out the Xbox 360 for a very poor PlayStation generation. Now, again, for them, it's poor because they didn't cross 100,000 units like they have on every other PlayStation. 1, 2, 4, right? 5 potentially. We don't know, but more than likely, we it's safe to assume. So they were hungry, they were thirsty, and they wanted it more than Microsoft did. They positioned themselves to win, and at every corner, when Microsoft made a mistake, they were there to kick them when they were down. That is what Microsoft has been doing. I say this all the time. They didn't just pull a page. They ripped out half of the book that Sony used in this generation, and it's going to pay off in dividends. We're going to get into how big it's going to pay off momentarily. VJ, you have been on both sides of the aisle. All right. You've been in the development aspect, but you've also been in the retail aspect. Is this, again, whether it's a big win or a small win is subjective, I would imagine, but this is a good move, in my opinion. I want to know what you think about this tweet.
Okay, so I'll come at it a little bit differently if you don't mind, Boom.
Sure. Any way you want, brother. Any way you want.
Sure. I just try to stay on point, but you know how I am. Apologies.
No, listen, dude. This is the conversational podcast, brother. That's what we do. We talk. So go talk away.
I think we can all agree, right, that this launch has been a rough ride, whether it's production of games or apparently hardware now, shortages, etc., etc. And we've seen Microsoft and Sony, take advantage of each other's misfortune, right? And I will say that Microsoft have learned, and instead of trying to force issues and tell us what everything that's going, they're doing exactly what Sony does, is and bide their time. When it happens, then react, but don't do it forcibly or arrogantly. Just use a play of words, right? So whoever they've got there right now, they should have a feather in their cap. I must say, it must be a good time to be in Nintendo's camp, right? Well, they're looking at looking at how this all plays out. And I know it's a tongue-in-cheek comment, but it's actually a really serious comment, and I'll come to that in a minute. From the public's point of view, Sony don't have enough PlayStation 5s. Now, I've dealt with Sony, and since the sorry, my voice is going a little bit, since the original PlayStation in 1994 or 5, and also sorry, with Nintendo since the NES days. They have this kind of built-in petulance almost to treat customers mean in order to sort of keep them keen. They kind of invoke these practices like as in not entirely providing their customers exactly what they desire in order to increase demand. And we can see that just right now with the Mario game, right? I was lucky to get my order in, and now it's like $90, right, if you want to get it.
Yes.
To be quite frank with you, Boom, panel and chat, I'm not amused by Sony employing such strategies in this day and age. They were for a time that's already gone. Times have changed, right? They're for a bygone area. I much prefer the Xbox approach at this, as of this moment, right? They still look. I'm me, right? I'm very cautious, so I still need to see Microsoft deliver and get those units on the shelf and get one in my hand, and then I can come onto the show and say, boom, they did it. But we're not quite there. We're nearly there, but let's just keep our hats on for the moment. They used very smart language used on social media, and I love that tweet. It's probably about the only tweet I've really enjoyed in such a long time. What it does, it's not like just a marketing thing or like a flashy thing or a nice thing to say. What is it doing? It's building confidence back in the brand, and now they have to build on that yet again by delivering the consoles. And I know Mr. Badbit said, if they don't sell out in day one, that's a problem. No, I don't think so. If they have enough units on shelf at launch and they still have units on the next day, Phil can easily turn around and say, hey, look, you know what? We released 10 million or whatever the number is, to fulfill all holiday demand instead of causing panic and drip feeding our fans who we're going to treat them as if they're on life support, like our competitor is, right? They just have to change the narrative up, right? And then hopefully they're prepared for that, right? You should be, right? What's going on behind the scenes at Microsoft Xbox, whether they sell 1 unit or 10 million, is irrelevant. It's about playing against Sony, right, into their own game. In terms of like whether Jim Ryan is lying or all this cloak and dagger stuff, what we have learned from yesterday, and I'm sorry if I'm encroaching on any other topic or subject.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
What we're also learned is Sony are prepared to completely change tact, narrative, story, information at the press of a button. But I think it's all misdirection aimed at Xbox. Fans on both sides are just caught in the crossfire, to be quite frank with you. Xbox, for me, were looking to eat into the 110 million user base of Sony and the next 7 or 8 years, 3 to 4 years, which obviously Jim has said he's going to do, of transitioning, they're trying to hold on to their customer and transitioning those guys over to the Xbox with the price point of the Series X. Sony have in the last moment, well, I won't say the last possible moment, but have now shown their hand, right, with Miles Morales, Horizon Zero Dawn coming over to PS4. And there's perfectly good reasons for that. And that's a completely different rabbit hole, as Boone would put it. They are 100% focused, Sony are, on the PlayStation 4 and transitioning everyone across to PS5 as safely as possible. Microsoft is a wolf at the door with its was it 299, right, with its digital machine. That Sony do not want to allow Xbox to cut into their customer base market share. What they're trying to do with this price point is trying to do their best to fence them off.
Well, I mean, listen. Again, they needed to respond, and again, if you check out the article from the Washington Post, and if anyone wants it, I'll post it in. I'll put it into the show notes if you're interested. It's a pretty good read. One of the things that Jim Ryan says is that the $399, $499 price point had nothing to do with Microsoft's prices, that they've had this for months, which of course is just BS in my opinion. That's why we didn't hear from them for almost a week. Because they were scrambling, and whether they want to admit that or not is fine. Real quick, let me just catch up with some of these super chats. I'm going to move on to the next topic.
All right, Boom. Just a quick one there, yeah?
Yeah.
If you're a PlayStation 5 fan and now you can pick up an all digital for $399, you should be saying thanks to Microsoft. Yeah,
absolutely. I would agree. Yeah, I think Joe would even agree with that, because I think that they're again, in my opinion, I think the pricing was not $399. I think at the minimum, at best case scenario, was $449. Worst case scenario, $499 for the digital. And I think that the big boy with the drive was going to come in at $50 more at $549. That's my thoughts. I mean, could I be wrong? Sure, but that's what I think.
I think it was a big giant question mark until a week ago.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think again, I think they had 3 different models and where they thought demand would go, and how much supply they have. And the big question was, okay, so what does Xbox offer? I think the big question mark for them was, what is the Lockhart? And I think that's the gamble that they're taking is at $100 more, people would be allured by the power of the PlayStation. They'll be like, oh, for just $100 more, I got a more powerful console. And then when dealing with the more powerful console where they're the same prices, well, I can't play Miles Morales on Xbox. So they're trying to play 2 different battles using similar strategies that Xbox are using. It's interesting. I don't know if I even made that into English, but that's just how my brain's working.
It certainly makes sense. But again, let me just, we're going to move on to the next topic. Let me catch up with some of the super chats. We have Joe Dunmore, a very good friend of the show. Does an outstanding $5 super chat and says, Sony is afraid of Microsoft. They staggered launch, the price of the PlayStation 5, and the early pre-orders proves it. I can't argue with that. Gamer by choice, a very good friend of the show, generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $10 super chat, says, great show. I am very disappointed in Sony and concerned about the PlayStation 5. I may wait until 2021 to see how backwards compatibility works. The double standard in media is disgusting. And again, cannot argue that because it's a double standard. Matt, we have Matt Usury drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Matt, thanks so much for being here. He says Target is saying 8 a.m. on Tuesday you can pre-order the Xbox Series X. Got this from GameRant.com. Oh, well, there you go. I'm going to look into that. I did not even see that. Thanks for the information, brother. So let's move on to the topic at hand here. Now, last week, as you know, if you listen to this podcast on a weekly basis, I discussed, and I want to stress this, my opinion on how the Xbox brand could become the market leader this new generation, starting in just a couple of months. And I went one step further, calling that Microsoft had already won the next generation with the confirmation of the Xbox Series S. Well, I want to add more fuel to the fire with some recent stats that prove my exact point. In 2013, the big reason, besides power and price, that Sony held over the Xbox One was how many regions/countries they launched in. Well, we have new information. This is provided by Sony on their blog. On the 12th of November, they're launching in only 7 regions. And of course, that's the US, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea, before being unveiled to the rest of the world on November 19th, which the list is still relatively small. Now, let's go to Xbox, because this is an Xbox show. And I want to bring up Xbox All Access. And the reason why I want to bring that up first is because Xbox All Access, the program that everyone scoffed at, including the media, thought it was a failure, is launching in more regions/countries than Sony is in launching their console, and that's 12. So Xbox All Access is going to be available in Australia, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, South Korea, Sweden, United Kingdom, and of course, the US. Now, we have confirmation from Xbox, from their blog, from Twitter, from their website, that the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, is launching on November 10th. We knew that already. But what we didn't know is how many regions/countries. Well, folks, they're releasing in 36 countries. Okay, understand that this is what you would consider a worldwide launch. Now, in my opinion, once again, I want to stress that because I don't want to get called out to be a stone-faced liar like I believe Jim Ryan is. This is the blueprint to winning the generation from the start. This is, in my opinion, again, a 1,000% role reversal from 2013 to 2020. This is seeing Sony take the position of Xbox and Xbox take the position of Sony. Now, if that pisses you off, well, you can hit the thumbs down button and get the fuck out because that is the truth. Okay. And that's what I do on this program. I speak the truth with numbers, with facts. Okay. And with all of the facts I just presented to you, there's a good chance. In fact, I think there's a goddamn good chance that Microsoft not only takes the lead, but continues that lead through the entire generation because of the wild card known. And I called it the Trojan horse months ago, months ago, and said their Trojan horse was Lockhart, aka the Xbox Series X at $299. And when you factor in the availability issue with Sony, when you factor in that Xbox Game Pass is the greatest thing since sliced bread, when you factor in what's included in Xbox Game Pass, which besides the 200 plus games, besides EA Play now, besides Xbox Live, you also have the other wild card. So this person has two jokers up their sleeves. And that, of course, is the Xbox xCloud program, which launched officially on Tuesday and is winning hearts and minds in regions never before seen, where Xbox has never before seen success. And of course, I'm talking about the Asian regions, Japan, and of course, Korea more specifically. So I want to go first to the cog that keeps this show rolling, and that, of course, is Zemi Games. Zemi, how do you think I present this argument as to, again, in my opinion, the winning formula for next generation? This is a lot of stuff going right for Microsoft. What are your thoughts on my theory?
I will say this. I think it is definitely way too soon for to say either one of them is going to win the generation, right? Like VJ said earlier in the podcast, we still have 7 years to go, right? Yeah. I mean, Xbox in the 360 generation, Xbox started off so well, but by the end of the generation, PlayStation still outsold them by I think 1 million or 2 million units. Right. So, anything could happen, right? Anything could happen. But with that being said, from everything that we see, from everything that we've heard, from all the knowledge and information that we, that's obtainable for us right now, Xbox would appear to be in a much stronger position than PlayStation, Sony, whatever, right? But then, another question kind of jumps into this question as well. You're asking, how likely kind of is it that Xbox wins this generation, right? Well, what do you mean by this generation? Are you talking solely consoles? Or are we talking about everything, comparing both platforms, across the board, right? Because ultimately, I think Microsoft is going to make more money. I think they're going to sell more games. I think that they're going to have potentially a larger user base. But I think, honestly, Sony's probably going to end up selling more consoles by the end of this generation, right? So how you measure the success, I think, also kind of comes into play. Are we just going off of console sales? How exactly are we deciding this? And ultimately, I like I said before, I think Xbox is in a tremendously strong position. It looks like they are going to have more units to sell early in the generation, which is going to give them, that momentum that they definitely want. And it is also going to give them, a lead in console sales, right? They have, 2 SKUs that are extremely competitively priced, especially with, the current virus situation going on in the world. And then not only, can you get, one Xbox for $300 and one Xbox for $500, you also have Xbox All Access, which, offers even more, value to consumers who might have, a hard time dropping $300 or $500 and one go on these systems. And of course, like you said, you do have xCloud, which will give, mobile gamers an option to adopt the Xbox platform on their smartphones, tablets, and possibly, in other on other devices as well, in the future. So, Xbox is really covering, almost every single segment of the global game market, right? Whereas Sony is only covering two: PC, where they're selling their PlayStation games on delayed at, and of course the console market, where Xbox is going after PC, console, and mobile, right? And mobile gaming is 50% of the global revenue in the games market, right? So, Xbox is going after a bigger slice of the pie. And they have all of these strategies to obtain the biggest piece of that pie as possible, where PlayStation is still limiting themselves on how big of a slice of pie that they can get, to use it in, I guess, like a metaphor sense, right? So I don't think it is inaccurate at all to presume that Microsoft is definitely should be the leader in a lot of people's minds of who could potentially steal this generation. But I also don't think it is a 100% thing, and I definitely don't think anyone should be underestimating Sony, because they are a very smart company. They know how to play this game. They've been playing it for a very long time, and the emotional connection millions of fans have with their IPs, with their with their first party games, should not be underestimated. And Xbox still has a lot to show in that area. Xbox has shown us some really good first party games. But still, in a lot of ways, they are still kind of unproven, right? I'm excited about Fable. I'm excited about Avowed. I'm excited about Hellblade 2. And I'm excited about Halo, right? But, for a lot of consumers, I could definitely see them still being somewhat leery, of adopting that, because, in a lot of people's minds, Xbox still probably hasn't shown themselves to be at the same level of PlayStation first party games. And I think that is honestly Microsoft's biggest limitation going into this next generation. If they were launching with an amazing, Halo game right now, it would be helping them so much to steal over PlayStation fans.
No doubt about that.
But they don't have that. But they don't have that. So yeah, I mean, I think where you're coming from makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see it going that way. For me personally, I think Xbox is going to make more money this generation. I think they're going to have more users on their platform. But honestly, I still think Sony's probably going to sell more consoles.
Yeah. I mean, listen, only time is going to tell. I think that the $300 console is the X factor in the equation. And I think that when you talk about the casual market, when you talk about the current world crisis financially that we're in, when you talk about value proposition, Sony is not in any of those conversations. That's my opinion. I'm sorry to say that. And I'm not jumping on, the jumping on and off bandwagons here. I'm telling you facts. The facts of the matter is that the casual audience, the 85 plus million players that supported the PS4, didn't buy it because they were Sony fans. They bought it because it was the cheaper console. It was the cool console. It was the console that a lot of the non-casual hardcore players were talking about. Microsoft has positioned their brand to deliver on value, to deliver on the experience of getting into next generation and not having to sell your child, giving options to the folks that may be financially tight, to offering a $25 and a $35 monthly fee with 0 APR, having Game Pass, having xCloud, having Xbox Live to be a part of Game Pass, adding EA Play. These are value propositions. Right now in the current world situation, value is paramount, because this holiday season is going to be a very different holiday season for a lot of reasons, more so that people are financially strapped. Money isn't growing on trees. People are losing their jobs. And you know what? As a parent, you're still going to want to put something underneath that tree for your
You're
kids.
scaring me.
No, I mean, listen, I'm not being gloom and doom. I'm being straight up honest. Go to turn on channel 2 and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But if you are a parent, I am not, but I have a nephew that I would die for. I have plenty of godchildren that I would give up my life for. No, not even a question. So if I was a parent and I was out of work or struggling, and I still wanted to put that special gift that I know my kids are going to get hours of enjoyment under the tree, or whatever holiday you celebrate.
Mhm.
Microsoft is giving you an option to do that. Sony is not. As a matter of fact, I said this last night and I'll say it again. We don't even know how many consoles are going to be on the shelf for Sony at this point. They may be underproduced. And you know what's going to happen when there's no PlayStation 5 digital at $399 sitting on the shelf? They're going to put something in its place, and it's called the Series S, which, from what we understand and from what I have heard privately, Microsoft is making 2.5 consoles per one PlayStation 5. So they could potentially have twice as many consoles available, maybe, just maybe even more. So if console B is not on the shelf, console A is going to sell. That's just the way business works. Mr. Badbit, when I present my argument to the jury, and you are part of the jury, what are your thoughts? Am I off kilter? Am I out of my mind crazy calling Microsoft the winner? Or have I given you a good case to potentially say, you know what, Boom? You might be on to something here.
I'm gonna put my lawyer cap on.
Put on the lawyer cap, will you? Damn it!
So for me, as a gamer, I'm thinking 2013, right? The good old days. I was about to work at GameStop. Maybe no, I just quit. There you go. So life was pretty good. Community college. It's nothing but up here. I was an Xbox gamer. What tore me away was Xbox. Was them. The whole rigmarole. I don't need to go into. Y'all know it's the dark times.
Yeah.
So I chose a PlayStation 5 because of that. Seeing Bungie on stage was like, oh shit, I'm actually gonna do this. It's those type of moves. What I stuck around with the PlayStation ecosystem for was the games, the IP.
Absolutely, 100%.
When I take a look at what the sales of, let's just say, Spider-Man, right? It's a top-selling superhero game on one platform.
15 plus million. It could be more. It could be closer to 20 by this point.
I think it's around 20 at this point. Yeah, it's crazy. A big number. When you take a look at that, right then and there, there's an install base. When you take a look at how many people have bought digital, how many people are in the ecosystem, you can maybe say even locked in. It's a hard sell. That said, Microsoft's agile. They've been fighting upstream. It looks like they're pretty dang good at it. Even when they got bad news like Halo, they've been able to rebound. Now, that said, just because PlayStation's launching in Europe a week later doesn't mean anything. Take a look at
just for clarification. No one is saying that they're doomed and gloomed because they didn't launch on the 12th in Europe. As opposed to the 19th. But again, I like to look at things from past history. I'm a big fan of history, and history tells us that
I was a history major back in the day.
Well, so you'll appreciate this when you look at the history of these two companies, and you don't have to look far. You have to look back to 2013, the dark times, right?
Yeah.
how many countries Sony launched in was the defining de facto aspect of the conversation, as opposed to Microsoft.
I
May
don't know.
Jump in here real quick?
Go for it.
The Delta is now 1 week. Microsoft launched months, even years later in the markets with the Xbox One. So that's a significant difference here. Yeah.
And I think, and again, so like, I don't know the when and where Xbox launched. I'm just looking at PlayStation's trajectory. So they launched on the 15th in North America. They launched on the 29th in Europe, and then they launched in February in Japan. So seeing them, go after North America, Japan, Mexico, Canada, pretty much North America, they're tackling that the first week, and then they're going to Europe and then the rest of the world. Isn't the worst plan in the world, especially when you have Europe on lock. You can go and throw more units over at the North American side where you want to put a dent in Xbox's Great Wall. So when I'm taking a look at what's going to keep people in the ecosystem, history will decide, is it value or is it IP? Because right now, both companies are in a good position. Neither of them, listen, this is a stumble for sure, but this is not like what it was back in 2013 with the DRM and all that jazz.
No, well, I mean,
they're both in a really good.
It's certainly not get a second job either.
No, so like they're both in a relatively good space. Microsoft is way more aggressive, and that's the difference. So the thing is, when we don't know how many units PlayStation has. We've heard this, that, and the other thing. The only number that we really do have is from Bloomberg that states it's an estimated 11 million. It's not even how many consoles are made. It's how are they being shipped. And so like that small little article from a few days ago where, PlayStation's like hooking these things up to jets and flying them off here, everywhere, goes to show that, PlayStation with the PS4 produced 10 million units. They only shipped 7.4 million in that first 4 or 5 month span. So it's not about who's making more, it's who's able to get that product onto the store shelves. And so we don't know the number from Microsoft or really from Sony. It's just a whole bunch of he said, she said. What I think the strategy that's going to play out is, what is more important right now? Value, or in Sony's case, the illusion of value, because the digital version, from what we understand, is in significantly fewer than the disc version, but it's the illusion of value from Sony's proposition and IP. That's why you are seeing them go Miles Morales, Ratchet, Horizon, God of War. Where's the kitchen sink? Can we toss that too? So that is why they've hit on all fronts IP wise. Even though if those games are smaller experiences, those IP,
it's still the IP. It doesn't matter on the size of the game.
So that's my rant.
No, and it's a good one as always.
Can I add something?
But by all means, go ahead.
I'm not sure if anyone ever actually mentioned this, but so Xbox, this time around on launch is going to be launching in 36 markets, and I actually looked it up because I was really interested, and I don't think anyone actually threw out the number. But in November of 2013, at the launch of the Xbox One console, they were only launching in 13 different markets, right?
Yes, 13.
So I mean that is huge.
Yeah, that's a 23 region difference. 23 region difference. And again, listen, these are my thoughts. I throw them out there. If you disagree, that's awesome. I love a debate. Boxer Bear, I want to go to you next on this. Listen, I think I paint a fantastic article, a fantastic picture of what I think is going to happen. Again, in my opinion. Now, could I be wrong? 100%. If I am, you know how I am. I'll come on right on my own show and be like, you know what? I read the tea leaves wrong. Absolutely. But I don't think I'm going to read them wrong. I think that if you take what I've said and you half believe, not even fully believe, half believe the every 1 out of 2 SoCs are bad on the PlayStation 5s. If you only want to say half of that, if you want to believe only half of the article, that's fine. Whatever. That puts Sony in a bad position because they're not going to have enough consoles. Now, it's funny because the guy, Z-Huge, Daniel Ahmad, had said to the effect that it wasn't going to necessarily affect their launch, though it was going to, in his words, severely affect them in 2021. So we are almost at the end of the year. Not there yet. We're only in September, right? We still have 3 months to go. But if Microsoft is producing at a record rate, almost 3-1, let's just say for shits and giggles, and they have 15 million consoles ready to go, 36 countries they're releasing in, right? They're ready to sell out whenever they can. They're going to have more consoles than they have people to buy them. Sony is only going to have potentially, again, we don't know. We don't know, maybe 5 million, maybe 6, right? 6 for the world versus 15. Who's going to sell more consoles? I think it's going to be Xbox. And I think that, again, value proposition in current times dictates a very often and furious sell-off, because the console is going to be available and the cheaper one is going to attract new customers that potentially left Xbox to go to PlayStation in 2013 and stayed with the brand for exactly what Joe said, IP. But they also went over to PlayStation because of what 2 main reasons: price and power, which is something that Sony had. They don't have that anymore. What are your thoughts, Boxer Bear?
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be funny if Xbox simply sells more console because they are available and PlayStations are not. It is, but this is something I'm not sure if this really happens, because Sony is doing this also for quite a while now. They know their market. They also have to deal with the same virus situation than Microsoft has to do. But for them, just having too few consoles for the demand this year is something, even with production problems, something that is I'm not sure if this is going to happen, because this 50% yield in a production line is not that uncommon. The thing is what you do with the other 50%. This is more the question. I've said this before, I think, on this show. Microsoft has a killer app with the Series X. If they can bin the chip down, or if they can use lower binnings, so chips that are usually not fulfilling the Series X demands, maybe they can use them in their server racks, in the Azure server centers or whatever. I think Microsoft has a lot of more potential there. This is more a price discussion. I don't think that the yield is so much different on the Microsoft side. It's just
I was going to ask you that. I was going to raise my hand like a kid too.
Yeah.
What? Because you say you work in semiconductors. I'm taking your word for it. When I hear like, SOE or whatever, I don't even know, yields, this, that. What is the average yield per chip? Because when I was trying to research this, I saw that other companies have this problem too. Intel, Apple as well.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone has that problem. When you manufacture a semiconductor, I take it 1 or 2 minutes, Boom, if that's fine, to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go crazy. That's no problem.
The process that is with which you manufacture a chip, or basically every semiconductor, no matter whether it's a chip or storage or whatever, every semiconductor is manufactured via photolithography. It's a very complex process, and many things can go wrong. That is why the yield typically, especially in the beginning of a production line, is very low. I've been at Intel and I've seen lines that had only 40 or 30% yield in the first 6 months. Yeah, it depends a little bit on the complexity of the chip, and to be honest, it can't get much more complex than the APU you have in consoles, because you have basically everything in there. Yeah, you have a CPU, GPU, everything combined. But every manufacturer has that. Let me give you one example. NVIDIA. Every NVIDIA card, the 3070, the 3080, and the TI versions and so on, they all have the same chips. Yeah, it's just they always try to aim for the best possible chip, and most of those chips don't make it out of the line in that quality. And then they downclock either clock speeds or they turn off compute units. And then they can reuse those chips that did not fulfill the highest target. Yeah, and that is what is called a binning. Yeah, so you have different binnings coming out of this at the end of the line, and that is why I think the yields for the Sony APU and the Microsoft APU are probably the same. I think the Microsoft APU can be a little bit cheaper because they don't have to throw away every second chip. They have other possibilities where they can use it. Like I said, either the Series S, but I think it's more likely that they reuse them in the Azure data centers, where CUs are more easily scalable. Yeah, but this is a very, very common thing. And I think that is also why Sony's statement, no, we did not change our amount of orders, is wrong per se. Maybe they intended to manufacture more, but I think that this is a very common process, and it's a little bit taken out of proportion. And to be honest, I think if I think about the whole line, I think the chip itself is the smallest problem, because you have to consider other things. You have to get also all the SSDs in, all the motherboards in, everything, and then you have to have people that assemble that. And these logistic lines are the ones that suffer the most at the moment with the economic worldwide situation. So I don't think the chip is the indication itself if they are low on stock. I think it's more that you have to bring every part together and then assemble it and then ship it to the different markets.
Which I heard that's what Imran Khan was talking about as well. It's like that's the real logistical problem.
Exactly.
And that when I was listening to Imran talk about it, he was like, I was expecting this weeks ago for both Microsoft and Sony to hear that news. So thank you for clearing that all up. The goddamn smart. This guy is the smartest guy I think I've ever met. He's like,
I don't know about that.
That made sense to me, man. You just turned Chinese into pure English, and I was all in for that journey.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to do a quick shout out in the chat. We have Kirby Louise. Not only normally drops super chats, but is here. He made his debut on RDX this week. Did a really, really good job there, Kirby. And we got to get you on the program, brother. When you got some time, DM me, brother, and we'll try and set it up and see what of the 3 programs that I do weekly work for you, because obviously love to get your developer take on some of the conversations that you've had, especially some of the big conversations you had on RDX on Tuesday evening. Boxer Bears, anything else you'd like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, we drifted off a little bit.
Nah, that's okay.
Okay. The question was, will Microsoft win the generation? I think we need to define winning, because they changed a little bit the metrics for that. Like Joe said, in terms of console sales, no, I don't think so. Sony with its PlayStation is still globally the significantly better known brand, and they have so much nostalgia with so many gamers around the globe. For instance, here in Germany, they also outsold the Xbox 5 to 1. So there are so many gamers that simply know the brand better, and you win some of those over, but not all of them. But Microsoft is aiming for a different customer base, yeah. Like it was mentioned earlier, they also go for mobile, they also go for PC. So winning is relative here. I think in the end, the real winners of this whole generation will be us gamers, because the value we get right now out of gaming has never been higher, especially on the Microsoft side. The value proposition that you get today, no matter which series console you get, the S or the X, in addition with Game Pass, is such an incredible value to us, so that I consider us gamers the winner, and I don't care who sells more consoles.
I mean, listen, again, it's going to be interesting. Again, my opinion, I'm glad everyone has a different opinion coming in from different angles. Makes for a much better conversation. Let me just catch up on a few of these super chats, and we'll get VJ in here. We have Smuzz246. Drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says the PS5 digital cannot be compared to the Series X. It's missing the disk drive. The value for price goes to the Series X and S. PS is in no man's land. We have Dan the Man Cunningham drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: Xbox will sell a unit for every unit Sony can't supply. That's true. For the ease of entry alone, in 2 years, Xbox will have the traction they need. Bank on it. And I would agree. And I think that, again, this is a topic for another conversation. But I think that when you look, and again, this is why I keep hearkening back to 2013. Everything that's happening with Microsoft right now is exactly what happened with Sony. And what do I mean by that? Besides everything I've already talked about, their first party games. Sony's first 2 to 3 years were not really strong. So if you turn around and you look at the projected, again, folks, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. But if you look at the projected first party big AAA games coming in the next 2 to 3 years, it lines up with how Sony dominated this generation, and it was through their first party. And if every one of these AAA bangers from Microsoft come into the equation, it just proves my point. But we're going to have to see. Hopefully, we'll be around in 2 years, and we'll be talking about exactly what we're talking about right now. But VJ, when you hear everyone's opinion, when you hear the way you read, I structured the particular topic. What are your personal thoughts about so-called winning a generation? And does launching in 36 countries right from get position Microsoft to be potentially the leader, at least for the remainder of the year, potentially going into the next year?
I've listened to what everybody has to say, Boom, and sorry if my thoughts are all over the place. There was just so many diverse opinions on this one. It was incredible. So, yeah, thank you, everybody, making my life difficult. This is an incredibly broad and deep question when you actually spoke it out loud, Boom, and it's difficult to answer, but I'm going to try to attempt somewhat. Launch doesn't actually tell you how many units will be drop shipped into those territories. So you know me, I'm pretty cautious. I'm taking the cautious approach. Sony, for example, so Sony are launching in Japan, but when I spoke to some people there, they're launching, but just enough units to have a presence there. Xbox don't even have a physical distributor appointed in Japan right now. So I assume if you want to get a hold of one, you've either got to import it or you've got to order it direct from Microsoft's offices. Sony should outsell Xbox, but it's not a given. And I have to say that. And I've got a few points for that in a moment, right? But just before that, just about Archimedes was talking about production and everything. I've got a little experience, not as much as him in terms of production lines. So I know where he's coming from in terms of yields and so on and so forth. But the rumors that have come out via Forbes and everything, and I know I mentioned this last night, but I'll just repeat it for the chat today. Yeah, I can't really give any credence to those. And I would encourage people to go and check out the CNN report from exactly like 20 years ago regarding the PlayStation 2, where they said, and I'm just paraphrasing here, where Sony will have to cut the launch quantities by 50% for North America. And they were saying there's issues with production, and Sony are going to have to stagger in shipments by air freight weekly to trying to meet demand and catch up. And then it came out that Sony are months behind in production. This is all on CNN, right? It's not me making it up or anything. And then Wall Street came out saying Sony shares prices dropped by 9%. Obviously, it's dropped a lot less this time around, so they're obviously doing something right. So, but and they're also sort of adding the fact that Xbox was entering the market, a worthy competitor, because obviously they were coming out with the Xbox. But my question to everybody outright is that, does that narrative sound familiar or recycled? It's spot on, right? In terms of what. So that's why I love coming onto your show, Boom, right? Because I get a chance to actually vent some of my frustrations, hopefully in a nice manner. So the question about hardware. and who's going to sell the most, right? First of all, we need to look at retail. It's shrinking, right? And I've talked about this on your show as well, that even in Japan, Microsoft and Sony, Microsoft are just pulled off all their face and everything's digital. Sony are going the same way. Within 18 months at a conference that they had in 2018, they were already planning this with their shareholders to come out of retail completely. GameStop have announced 450 store closures, I think, this financial year. Anyone can correct me. And they've been trying to diversify for years, but they're not the only ones. Retail stores throughout the whole world, Softmap, Big Camera, Laox, Game even, right? Game Station in the UK, Fnac, all these guys have been trying to diversify, right? Some successfully, some not so well. So then you've got, how do Sony and Microsoft, let's just focus on those two, we'll leave Nintendo out of it for the moment, remain visible and relevant to the sort of mass gaming and non-gaming public when they're going around in and around stores and they used to see these massive shelves with games everywhere. Sony, so longer term, what I'm thinking is Sony is an electronics, music and film TV production company. They're going to use product placement, promotional activities, marketing initiatives to create awareness through their vast networks of partners and electronic retail outlets to promote the PS5. Xbox, now this is why I'm really interested to see how this works. I've got Game Pass via Game Pass via xCloud on all devices. For me, it's an extremely powerful, consistent and expansive way to keep the Xbox brand and Game Pass in public view at all times. How many times a day do you look at the telephone? All the time, right?
150 times. Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking at the phone. As a matter of fact, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, VJ.
Every day. It's an addiction.
Just let everybody know that pre-orders have been confirmed by Microsoft to open on September 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Nice.
That's been confirmed by Microsoft. Kotaku just ran the story. I wouldn't say go to them because I'm not a big fan of their work, but I would say go to Xbox Wire to get all the information of the exact times. And I can confirm this because I was sitting on the information because, obviously I have some inside connections. I knew it was 11 a.m. I just wanted it confirmed by Microsoft. And I do have an inside source to a particular company that I will not talk about publicly. But they told me 2 days ago that it was going to be 11 a.m. I just didn't want to put it out there until Microsoft confirmed it. So yes, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, September 22nd. You can be in front of your computer refreshing, or like for me, I'm going to GameStop to reserve mine because I don't want to wait for anyone to deliver it. I want to go pick it up myself. But VJ, continue your point, my brother.
Sorry. So my point is Xbox will do well to have Game Pass pre-installed in as many manufactured devices, whether it's Samsung or whoever, Hisense, whatever, as possible, or at least on the upcoming Duo range, right? In terms of their own hardware. To Zemi's point, Sony people do have an emotional connection to the hardware, but Sony don't have that same emotional connection with mobile gamers right now. But Xbox are going into that, right? Into that realm. So trying to experience something complex gameplay-wise straight off the bat might leave gamers frustrated, and that was my one concern. So if I'm Xbox, I would carefully curate. Is it curate the right word? I think it is, yeah. Right. Anyway, suggest something in its app that will work well on xCloud, or an IP that works well in a very in a given territory. Should be very important for Microsoft to look at, and how they orchestrate all of that, right? I know it sounds like small things, but I'll come to that in a second. Xbox should also clearly communicate to new potential console owners through xCloud that whilst they're paying this $12 or $15 or whatever it's going to work out to for Game Pass and hundreds of games during their free trial period, which we know is happening with Samsung with their N20, which is 2 or 3 months. We know it's happening through new subscribers or existing subscribers on SK Telecom that also get 3 free months. And you know that Seoul and Korea is their test bed right now to test it, how it doesn't work, and then roll it out everywhere. But the key point I'm trying to make is for an extra $10 per month, they can also own a Series S, and that they need to be able to portray that will redefine the total gaming experience, right? The Xbox Series S is just all of a sudden becomes completely affordable, and you've got a good looking dongle, right, for your big screen. Hopefully they do all these clever subtle. They do this in like the, like they can really like splash it on the screen, right? But I'm hoping that they can do it in a clever, subtle, and a suggestive way in app, right? I know they're limited to space and time, but these things are really important. I know they almost sort of sound like small ticket items, but it all adds up in leading consumers towards the Xbox brand via xCloud. Overall, in my opinion, though, the xCloud initiative is, if it's executed well, it serves as a fantastic gateway to potentially selling much more Series S's and maybe X hardware as well, despite the obvious drive right now is to increase mobile device-based subscribers, right, for Xbox.
Yep.
Sorry if I'm going on, Boom. You can cut me off if I'm going on too much.
No. Keep
No, you're on a roll, man. I'm listening.
Okay, I've got more to say because there's other things that are going to dovetail into this. To understand how important xCloud is in relation to Xbox in terms of how far they've fallen behind, right? I was looking at some numbers. Xbox One only sold 125,000 units in Japan compared to Sony's 9.2 million machines. But Microsoft and Xbox sold 1.5 million Xboxes in Japan. So it's not like it was ever dead there, the brand, right? People went to it, right? They acknowledged it. They bought into it, right? It's only down to what happened to Xbox in terms of the last 7 years and how everything's panned out till now. Even though I think there's a lot of Xbox plans that are unknown to us right now. And why would they tell us everything? Why would they let Sony know, right? So with the addition of xCloud, Xbox, I think, are set up much better this time around to eclipse the 45 or 48 million Xbox One sold this time around. I truly believe that. Because there's just so many good initiatives at play here and playing going forward. But I think we also need to acknowledge where Sony and Nintendo, for that matter, are stronger right now. Sony's studios are structured and work more as a combined, harmonized and consolidated team, if I can say it like that. Or you can say that they have more of a hive mind. You can see how its development and how they actually were under real difficulty during the PS3, how they consolidated together during the PlayStation 3 era, and how that structure and that hive mind went on to forge the success of the PlayStation 4. Xbox, in contrast, have got a selection of talented studios, right? No one's denying that, right? But there is still a degree kind of working in silos. They may produce an individual moment of brilliance. However, they need time to sort out their cultural differences and sharing of information, which Phil has alluded to in his I think it was with Matt Booty. He's alluded to all of this already, but I think it's good that we're aware of this, right? Their studio culture, their structure, their methodologies, sharing of information, technical and creative benchmarks, that's pretty much set up for Sony and Nintendo as a sort of like a cohesive package. And it's and I think that Nintendo's at the forefront of that, and we've seen that with them just focusing all of the resources on the Switch. Sony's in second place, and Xbox at the moment a third. And as Sony, I think Zemi might have mentioned this, right? That Sony and Nintendo have just been at this a lot longer, right, than Microsoft. This is not a slight at Microsoft, but we've got to analyze where it is that they've got to improve. And they know this as well, but I think it's good for all of us to know, right? So the most important factor going forward is obviously going to be who delivers the most consistent experiences, brands, IPs, regardless of volume of content, even though I think that is a very strong pull for the mass market. At the moment, you have to say Sony may be edging it through first party and third party exclusive, but at the end of the day, even that is subjective depending on the games that you like. And on my last point, I'm going to just wrap up here on the lack of Jim Ryan's honesty. Now, I'm not an expert in development or anything like that. I understand development, I know how to set up studios and all that kind of stuff, but something that really kind of gnawed at me from the Washington Post last night. Boom, I hope you don't mind me talking about this.
No,
so,
not at all.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and Miles Morales, he says in there, are built from the ground up. No one should be disappointed. And Sony have an upgrade path for PlayStation 4 users to get to the PS version for free. I'm okay with the final part. It's the former part that I have a question. Jim Ryan, in this instance, it's just completely misleading to me and misleading us yet again, unless he can prove otherwise. Guerrilla Games, and I was watching on Digital Foundry, has one of the best engine teams in the industry. So the PS5 engines for me right now are derived from the baseline PS4 engines. At this stage, during the launch window and up until probably for another year, all we're going to see for Xbox and PS5 games in terms of cross-gen content is pretty much higher graphics settings, like akin to what you see on the PC in terms of textures, frame rate, resolution, etc. I think we need to be patient for a year before we start seeing certain games that are being shown to us in terms of what the next-gen systems can do. But that's why I think right now we're not even seeing, and I know Archimedes is desperate to see Series X, Senua's Blade, and gameplay and content from studios.
Oh, yeah.
We have to factor in that the Unreal Engine 5 is still not even complete right now. It's not going to be until sometime next year. So I'm just, that's my everything complete. I know we could go on about for hours and hours and hours dissecting all of this and talking about it, but I hope that gives some sort of benefit to anyone who would possibly.
I could just piggyback for just a minute. I know we're super over, but like what you said at the end really rings true. And you made so many terrific points. Don't ever apologize when you talk, man. It's amazing. Don't worry, you got this. You killed it. When it comes to like games, a year out, 2 years out, and really getting to see what these consoles are capable of, I think PlayStation 5 has the opposite problem that PlayStation 4, and maybe even Xbox One, you can maybe throw that in there, but like I think it has the opposite problem where for me as a gamer, the first year and a half as a PlayStation gamer was rough. There was not a lot to play on that console. It was barren, and a lot of games that came out didn't hit as hard. Your Watch Dogs, your Titanfall, Destiny. I remember when that first came out. They didn't last as long. And so I think the opposite problem here is there's now so much to play, but the problem is you can play them somewhere else. Right? Like there's not the urgency to pre-order because there's so many games in your ecosystem already, where in the beginning there wasn't so much urgency to buy these consoles because there was so little to play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, this has been an amazing show. Everyone had completely, this particular topic was knocked out of the park by everyone. As a matter of fact, I don't think there was a topic that I don't consider to be an A+ winner. Everyone had great points. Again, a conversational podcast, so there's no wrong answers here. How long you take is really irrelevant, unless, of course, you take an hour. Then we're gonna have to call in the hook and pull you off the stage. But for the most part, this is what we want. We want a good, solid conversation that has good points. Again, we had 500 people here that watched the show live, and that's it's a big deal for a very small channel when you compare it to some of the other big Xbox shows. I want to thank everybody for being here. I just got to catch up on 3 super chats before we get on out. We have Bounty Boom, a very generous friend of the show, drops another $2 super chat and says, great show, hit the like button. Yes, folks, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down button. Either way, it's still a view, whether you liked it or not. Hopefully, though, you did. Mariano Pampa, another generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $5 super chat, says, always learning things in these podcasts. Great show, Boom. Awesome panel again. Thank you, gentlemen. All gentlemen. Well, thank you for being here, Mariano. Definitely appreciate the generosity, but more importantly, we appreciate that you are learning something from our opinions. We have Ape 2020 with the outstanding $5 super chat and says, all of the next gen systems will sell out this holiday. It's really going to be about manufacturer and distribution channels for the best seller. Yeah, of course, that's going to be a big part of who so-called quote-unquote wins or loses. But let's get to the outros, folks. Let's get everyone out of here. Hopefully, again, you enjoyed your 2+ hours, and get ready tomorrow, man. We are going to be going deep into the dark territory of Jim Ryan and what some people are calling straight up lie to the community. I am one of them. Joe is one of them as well. And you're going to hear King David in his rawest form ever on tomorrow's show. So get ready, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Breakfast with Boom is coming at you fast and furious. But we're going to start with, of course, Zemi Games. Zemi, glad that you got here. Sorry you didn't get your PlayStation 5, but at least Harry Potter will be out, available to you on the Series X next year. Hopefully, there'll be some other pre-orders. You'll be able to get your PlayStation 5 digital. Do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, learn to be a chef or a ghost hunter like you.
Yeah, man, I am all good on the Harry Potter. I mean, I could play it on my One X if I had to, right? So I'm all good with Harry Potter. It just sucks I can't get a PlayStation 5 on launch. Well, maybe there's still hope. I don't know. But yeah, guys, I actually have 2 YouTube channels. The first one's called Zimmy Games, where I post a bunch of gaming content, such as like gaming news, tutorials, and reviews. And then actually also my most recent video on my Zimmy Games YouTube channel is actually a video going over all of the confirmed information for Hogwarts Legacy, the new Harry Potter RPG. I actually just released that video yesterday and got all of the information for that video off of a press release by Warner Brothers. So it's all good, accurate information. So if you're excited about the game, definitely go check out that video. My second YouTube channel is actually called Zimmy Eats, which is a food-oriented channel where I do cooking, like tutorial recipe videos and food reviews and stuff like that. I've been I've been slacking on producing content or getting that content out on that channel, but hopefully that is about to change. I also have a Twitter page called, and you can find that at Zimmy Games. And if you heard something I said today that you agree with, or maybe you disagreed with it, feel free to send me a DM. My DMs are always open, and I always look forward to, hearing, anyone's opinions out there in the community. I think listening to other people's opinions is very, very much contributing to how, I look at each and every subject differently, and can look at, each side and see, see some truth in each side, I guess. Right. And then also now I have a Twitch channel as well called Zimmy Games, like pretty much everything else I have. And I stream a variety of games on there from, Wednesday to Sunday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely stop by and hang out and chat and, watch me play some games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here as always. Joe, let's go to you, my brother. You obviously uploaded the recent episode of the Trophy Room, I would imagine. Hopefully you're getting 5-star reviews on the Apple podcast services, as you like to call the RSS feed that you have your show on. Tell everyone about you, your outstanding co-host, your incredible voice. Tell about the people that are going to help you push past 2,000 followers on Twitter so you can have people shine your shoes.
It's gonna happen. So real talk, everybody, the last 24 hours have been crazy.
It has, yes.
I could not be any more humbled and just God, words can't even describe, just lucky to have people that watch, listen, wherever you do, whether that's YouTube, whether that's podcast feeds. This episode's already the most popular episode we've ever done.
Oh, so dude, that's
it's
awesome.
Not even 24 hours.
Good,
yeah. So
for you, dude.
Thank you all so much. So you can find the Trophy Room over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter. We've been killing it with the social media on there. So follow us there, PS Trophy Room, and you can follow the show, the Trophy Room PlayStation podcast over on Bad Big Games on YouTube with the video versions over there. And you can find it wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast services, you can find us there. I do want to highlight one thing, because it's been a terrific talk. But while I was scouring social media during the show, I landed on one person's post, which is a small-time streamer. But they struck gold here. Their name is JC at P1SMX. He has a clip, and I think it boils down what gaming means so much. As he got emotional watching the Spider-Man Miles Morales trailer, and it was just something so simple as seeing a Puerto Rican flag, hanging from a balcony. And this guy was moved close to tears because for what seems like forever, his culture is reflected in one of his favorite IP. one
Yeah,
of his
big
favorite
deal.
games.
That's a big deal.
It means so much. As a Hispanic myself, a Puerto Rican as well, and a Spaniard, we don't get to see that all so often. So when I see reactions like these, I could only imagine a kid sitting down watching this, knowing that they have a hero that looks like them, sounds like them. Awesome. So go follow this guy, P1SMX. Tell him who sent you. Amazing, man. Video games are awesome. Video games are
Yeah.
freaking
Let me tell you something. I've said this before, and I'll say it again live on the air on the Xbox show. Spider-Man Miles Morales, besides looking absolutely unbelievable, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to platinum that game just like I did the first Spider-Man 2018, and I'm going to then re-platinum Spider-Man 2018 remastered, because that's how much of a fan I am of the IP. But he is a hero that the world needs right now.
Yep.
His representation of being both African American and Hispanic, which my wife is, and of course I am as well. My family comes from Madrid, Spain. A lot of people don't know that.
Studious over here, man.
Yeah, you like them apples. My family had a castle in Madrid, as a matter of fact. He is a hero that the world needs right now. I'm not saying that now, again, whether that be PlayStation, X, that's irrelevant. The brand is irrelevant. What he stands for is more important. And if you are someone that appreciates this kind of culture in video games, Miles Morales is a game you should support for that reason. But let's continue.
My little icon.
Yeah, I know, and this is your favorite hero, no less. But let's continue, of course, with the outros. And of course, Boxer Bear, it's great to have you back in your chair as usual, bringing the knowledge of not only a diehard gamer, unfortunately a disappointed gamer until, of course, you lock down your PlayStation 5, but someone who is, from a technical aspect, the smarter of the bunch. Thanks for being here. Tell everyone where they can check out your outstanding and growing YouTube channel, but more importantly, follow you on social media.
Well, I don't know about the smart thing, because we have some pretty smart panel members on here. But thank you, Boom. Thank you. Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel at Boxenberger, as well as my Twitter handle and PlayStation Live and Xbox Live account everywhere, Boxenberger. Yeah, my YouTube channel is performing really well lately. I couldn't be happier about that. I put a lot of work into it, and seeing the subscribers grow has been really, really great, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. And if you are interested in a commentary YouTube channel, then yeah, check it out. And if you like it, I would be glad if you subscribed as well. And otherwise, you can find me always on Twitter. I discuss a lot of things, all gaming related, on Twitter, at Boxenberger everywhere. Well, thanks.
Yeah, well, listen, dude, you've been doing some great work. You've been making some strides in the community, and I think that you are going to certainly explode on the scene. I think you have, and your success comes from the dedication that you put into the craft. And I believe that is worthwhile. If you're not subbed to this dude, please head over there and sub everyone on this panel. And last, and no way least, someone that he always apologizes for his commentary, but he doesn't need to, because quite frankly, he brings a new thought-provoking conversation to every podcast. VJ, tell everyone where they can find you on other podcasts, because you've been making the rounds, and more importantly, where could people follow you on social media?
Actually, Boom, no one's going to be able to find me, because I'm going to stick myself in a cupboard with a bacon sandwich, a cup of tea. Go. Big show back me out today. But if you're really desperate to find me, contact me through my agent, Boom. Or Boom, yeah, no, it's been fantastic today. Oh, you might even find me over on Zemi's Twitch channel if you really, really want to find me. I'll be there supporting his live streams. But no,
he's my #1 fan, guys.
Yeah, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
But all jokes aside, thank you everybody in the chat that made me feel welcome, and I really enjoy interacting with them. And thank you to everybody in the panel. Sorry, I'm a bit tired, but it's always a pleasure. And Boom, I hope I brought the fire for you today.
No, absolutely. You certainly did. But listen, folks, I want to thank everybody. We had almost 500 people for today's show. The numbers for Double Barrel Gaming in the last 7 podcasts that I've done, that includes Breakfast of Boom, and this show, and of course, Primetime Gaming, have been through the roof, and that's thanks to you. Hold on, as that ambulance goes by. They always know when I'm doing a show. My God, I need a studio, like a real.
Save the life somewhere else.
Yeah, I know, right? Jesus. Anyway, listen, folks. This show has this particular year has made strides in a way that I did not think it was possible. On all fronts, the show is advancing through views, through the generosity of unbelievable men and women gamers that come to here and donate through Super Chat, through my voice on social media. It is tremendously and honestly, I'm grateful beyond words. And I'm very happy to know that the 3 shows that I'm producing, people are enjoying enough where I'm getting more views than subs. And that's crazy. That is crazy to think about. And it's a number that is unheard of on YouTube and other forms of social media. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And of course, I want to say something that, again, it's important to me. Hopefully it will be eventually important to you. And it's something that my dad taught me early and often. I think it's worth saying again and again and again, because right now in this time, in these days, it's worth more now than ever. And that's 2 simple facts of life that I like to live through. And it was something taught to me again when I was very young. My father used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.